Hey everybody! Today I want to speak about a very important topic, which is how to voice your opinion in a studio. If you're working in a studio and you're an artist, you're not like the movie director or the producer or the supervisor. How can you really express your mind and be creative? I want to guide you through how you can, as an artist, have a voice in a project in an intelligent way. I will be giving you tips that help you improve your communication skills and be assertive so you can grow in a studio. My name is Ilse Samarripa and this is The World Space.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell and hit that like button because that really helps me.
So let's suppose a studio is making a movie and you work as a CG artist for that studio. There always will be important decisions that only the heads of the studios can make, like bidding, deciding how much money they will invest and make by creating this movie, decisions about the story, how characters will look, how they will behave, the aspect ratio of the movie. This decision making is hard and it's extremely important that people with a lot of experience get the say in this, because it can mean that the project becomes a total failure or a huge success. It is normal and it is good that there are different levels of power. Hierarchies are needed in order to know who has the final saying in situations. If you're interested in this topic, I have another video that you can watch either here or here, where I speak about why it's extremely important for you to know the hierarchy inside a studio if you want to really build your career successfully. Okay, you are an artist. Your nature is to be driven by your own creativity. So you would love to contribute with as much ideas as possible inside a studio. You probably hate the fact that you're working a lot only to fulfill someone else's dream. This makes a lot of artists feel frustrated while working for a company. We need to cope with it. Yes, sometimes you'll work in projects that you won't be necessarily passionate about. Or maybe you didn't enjoy the decision making that went through in a project you're working in. But great things come from every single project. Anything you're working in gives you tools to be better if you are smart about how you approach things. So my very first tip is to look for projects you're passionate about, and then try to work in the studios that produce those projects. You see, it's like reverse engineering. If you love a specific video game, say Cyberpunk, do what I did and try to work for Steamroller Studios. Always be careful about being in healthy workspaces. Look for studio dynamics that satisfy your needs and really give you peace. Avoid toxicity, avoid mistreatment. You don't have to undergo pain or feel undervalued. You should not be scared about losing your job every other week. And the only way you can get more choosy at saying, I like this studio better than this other studio, focus on your quality, on getting better at your craft. Now, as an artist, you can express your mind, but you have to pick your battles carefully. Understand the boundaries also of your place in the hierarchy.
Story time!
Now, I was a junior animator working for a very important film, and there was a shot that I was not even animating inside a sequence that I was. I felt the camera angle and the character placement were off. So, in my opinion, the visual continuity of the sequence was broken 100% by this very tiny detail. So, I thought a lot about it, and then I decided to go to the animation supervisor. And I told him, hey, I know it's not my decision to make, but would it be alright if I suggest something regarding a shot? And he said, sure, tell me. And I told him, okay, so I feel the performance of the character and the visual rhythm of this sequence just looks wrong because of this little detail. What I would suggest is to approach the camera placement and the character position like this. It does mean a slight change, but I think it would make the world of a difference, in my opinion. He really appreciated my observation. He thought they were pretty relevant, and he decided to talk to the VFX supervisor. Maybe even the director was involved, and they adjusted it. Why was that approach good? I think it worked because of three main reasons. One, I talked privately with someone I trust. I didn't really bring it up in a big meeting or drew a lot of attention to myself. Two, I pointed out that this was my opinion and I was humble about my position in the hierarchy. And three, I talked about the problem but also gave a solution. Don't be the person who comes up with issues all the time. Be the person who says, hey, I noticed this matter or this vulnerability or this problem and here is what I worked on and found that can solve this issue. Don't just point out the things that are wrong. Rather, be the problem solver everybody wants in a team. My next tip is to acknowledge your worth. It's easy to see artists who undervalue themselves and tolerate all kinds of mistreatments, or artists that are becoming passive. They stop growing, stay in the comfort zone. I'm okay, I'm not gonna be better. Be very objective. Ask yourself, what am I bringing to the table? What are your skills? What makes you different? What gives you individual power? Learn to understand your power as well as properly identify your flaws. Your I could be better at are very important, so you can keep growing on yourself and improve your artistic skills. My next tip is to understand the boundaries of what you like and what you tolerate. CG projects nowadays are getting done in no time with constant changes, hectic work schedules, but there are branches in the industry where there's more stability than others. For instance, I find that working in video games can provide you with a more stable situation, less overtime, more balanced work hours, less internal change than, for example, VFX studios that make movies. Why? Because of the nature of the projects. If you are working, for example, in episodic TV, you know you're doing season 1, 2, 3 through 7. So that gives everybody in the studio time to get to know the project, feel more relaxed in terms of what to expect. You know this project's gonna be going on for a while, so you get job stability. And all this time working for one single project makes it very easy to understand your client, get to know their style. Whereas in a movie, maybe the client is new for the studio. They need the movie to come out with the greatest quality, but in the shortest amount of time. That makes for a different speed of work. There are also more iterations back and forth with the client. Your shots may change a lot or even get cut out of the film, and sometimes after the project is done, the studio takes months and months to get a new one.
And what happens to your job, right?
I would say we need to stop saying these situations are good or bad. It's just how it is. We need to learn to understand it. But if you're someone who's probably high in neuroticism and you thrive in stable situations, you will not enjoy some projects as much as others. Now, my next tip is to know how much your decision matters. Guys, be humble. Understand that to really have a big say in a project, we need to have experience and years in the industry. Let your career and your trajectory talk by themselves. Your decisions will have bigger impact because with time you earn higher leadership roles. That's natural. So how much input you have in a project also depends on the size of the studio you're working in. The smaller the studio, the more you actually do for the project. The smaller the chain, the bigger your contribution becomes. So if you're someone who is very impact driven and you love seeing the final product and say, wow, I had a huge say in this project, I was big part of the team, then probably working in smaller teams will fulfill your artistic needs even more. My next tip is to learn the difference between hostile and assertive. People often think that they should never express their minds because that could come off as bossy or mean or rude. But if you do this in an assertive way, this will give you more freedom to communicate and maybe become a more valuable team member. Because, you know, nobody wants a piece of furniture. After all, you are creative. They hired you for that. Learn to speak your mind properly. Practice communication and always keep pushing your artistic skills. If you have doubts and you want to keep learning about these topics, I will be sharing some more information about this in my Patreon account. You can join the other VIP World Spacers who are awesome, have private meetings with me. Thank you. Thank you to all my patrons for being the official producers of my content. Your support is really valued. Let me know in the comments down below if you learned something, if you already knew something, and if you have any fun anecdotes. Thank you so much for watching and keep making art, you beautiful artist. Ciao.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell and hit that like button, because that really helps me.